Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another weather forecast here by Adrian Weather Forecast. And it's going to be another upload on the potential for a significant snowstorm across the upper Great Lakes and Northeast for the very early part of next week. Looking at Sunday and Monday and even portions of Tuesday to be seeing a large cross-country snowstorm from the Great Lakes all across basically the overall Northeast United States, as well as going to be associated with a weakening polar vortex. So also going to be seeing some really deep cold air associated with this. So overall, going to be seeing a huge pattern change from this week to the beginning of next week. But before we get the video, I would recommend you guys subscribe to the channel if you are new and smash that like button. Both without further ado, let's get in the forecast. So the first thing I want to show you guys is the 500 millibar anomaly. So obviously right now we're going to be heading into a pretty strong positive Eastern Pacific oscillation. So we're going to be seeing some really intense ridging and warm air all across the United States, specifically the west central United States today, really all across this week here. And a lot of this really cold air and polar vortex is going to stay at a pretty strong status and really only bring in some slightly cooler air later this week across the Northeast and Great Lakes. But other than that, it's going to be a very warm United States, specifically the areas that we're going to be watching out for this snowstorm, even Friday. And as well, even to Saturday, we're going to be seeing just overall really strong ridging and going to be seeing awfully warm temperatures. And like I said, all that colder and really strong troughing as well. Snow will stay to the north across Canada as this polar vortex is not going to be budging whatsoever. We are going to be seeing as well, just like I said, really strong positive Eastern Pacific oscillation. So going to be seeing some really overall strong ridging just outside of the Hawaii area. And as well, going to be seeing going to be transitioning into a negative North Atlantic oscillation. Going to be seeing a lot of troughing up there near Greenland and not blocking high, but that will all change as we go towards really the 5th. This is where this snowstorm is going to start to begin. As we start to go towards the very early morning of the 5th, we're going to be seeing this polar vortex start to weaken. So we're going to be seeing a really strong part of this polar vortex to act as an Arctic blast. And it's going to rapidly invade portions of the north central United States by basically all of Sunday morning. So this is actually going to cut off and act like a blocking area of troughing. So we're going to be seeing transitioning towards a positive Pacific North oscillation as well. Going to be really transitioning towards a overall negative Eastern Pacific oscillation, and eventually we'll start transitioning towards a negative North Atlantic oscillation as we're going to be seeing some blocking high eventually go up towards Greenland. But as we go towards really early portions then of Monday, this trough is going to continue to really rapidly make its way in towards the eastern United States and northeastern north central and midwest United States. We're going to be seeing some really strong troughing as well as a dip in the jet stream overall. So this is going to cause some strong troughing across just outside Nova Scotia and really deep cold air. So any area of low pressure along this trough is going to definitely have a pretty big potential for some snow. And that's going to be really mainly the Midwest and Great Lakes. And as we go eventually towards Tuesday, then we're going to start seeing some stronger ridging across the Northeast. So there is a chance the Northeast may or may not miss out on the storm. But eventually, the day after Tuesday, even Wednesday is going to be associated with some really cold air because this polar vortex is going to really weaken. And it's going to allow for acting as just seeing a lot of wobbling as well, just overall, and more meridional flow. So we're going to be seeing a lot of overall wobbling of this polar vortex. So definitely a lot more opportunities for some cold air. And this is definitely going to increase the chance for some really active weather across the northern United States. When I mean northern United States, I mean this whole area practically. It's going to be the main area to watch out for, the pattern for very late this week, really mainly Friday, Saturday, and then of course Sunday and Monday. So here's the overall look now at Saturday evening. Pretty clear, like I said. It's still going to be seen by Saturday. Still some overall really boring weather, clear and warm weather across the United States. But as we go towards really, again, continuing to Saturday, not going to be seeing too crazy. But as we start to see this cold front start to really make its way, of course, by already Saturday at night across the far northern United States, we're going to be seeing an area of low kind of developing just outside that area of trough. So this is going to be the area of trough to really watch out for. I'm going to be seeing overall some really heavy snow, just really front-sided area of low pressure. I'm going to be seeing almost all that precipitation going to be north of that low pressure. So while this doesn't act really to the north because that's where that colder is going to be, anything really southeast of that area of low pressure is going to really be associated with some drier weather, at least in the first part, because it's going to be a little bit warmer. But as we continue now to early Sunday morning, early Sunday morning, now that cold front is going to really start to make its way towards the east here. And that's going to allow for now this low pressure to be surrounded a lot more by snow. So we're going to be seeing a lot more snow by Sunday morning across the upper northern plains, including the Dakotas. And eventually, we're going to be seeing a lot more precipitation along. We're going to be seeing a really large area of cold front, or a large line of cold front. So anything to the east of that cold air advection along the warm conveyor belt, we're going to be seeing some overall heavy rain. So the main area of snow is going to be, like I said, it's going to mainly stay isolated across the upper Great Lakes, Midwest, and as well as some portion of the upper Northeast. Again, because there is eventually going to be some troughing eventually. And we're keep in mind that this is going to be a really fast moving system, and this cold air doesn't really come until it's really far behind. So we're going to be seeing a huge area of high pressure eventually moving in this area with all that really deep, dry cold air. So a lot of that main cold air is going to stay practically west of this system. So a lot of it's going to be really rain, even in towards the Lake Erie area. The main snow is going to be pretty far north of that low pressure. It's going to be really, really isolated towards specifically Lake Michigan, Lake Superior. Really heavy snow possible across Wisconsin, upper Illinois, and portion there of the some portion of the western Great Lakes, and then eventually by mid morning on Monday, it's gonna be just really a big soaker for a portion of the Mid Atlantic, and for the eastern Great Lakes, could see possible mountain snow in some mixing here as we go into the really early hours of Monday, but a lot of it is going to stay to the north of that low pressure, and the further this low pressure tracks north, the more north the trend of that snow will be. So this latest 18Z trend is not favoring too much going on there for the Northeast. It's going to be mainly a big rainmaker. Really guaranteed big snow is going to be probably, I'd say, across this area, because they're definitely either way going to be north of that low pressure, no matter where it dips really. So they're definitely in the good area to watch out for. Definitely a lot more confidence, but kind of the further east we go, going to be a lot less confidence. Just depends on how deep this trough goes, but there's a lot of high confidence that this trough will initially dip into the north central, so they definitely have a lot more confidence than the Northeast, and that's the latest 18s, and definitely a big downtrend compared to the 12Z and 6Z. Let's now get a look at the European model. So they're obviously in range now, and the 12Z model run as well. So here's a look now at or late Saturday. You're going to start seeing that area of low pressure now. There you see really good troughing associated. It's going to be the kind of open wave trough. Going to be seeing these areas of iso lines. So we are going to be seeing as well some stronger wind associated with it. And there's that deep area of high pressure, that deep cold air associated. Again, a very dry pattern all across the United States on Saturday into Sunday morning. But as we go a little bit into Sunday morning, the European is having this initiate a lot slower and a lot later than the GFS does. It does not really, it barely has initiated by mid-morning on Sunday, but eventually it does initiate a little bit more as it goes to the Great Lakes, but definitely not as intense. And the European does have this moving super duper fast, already practically over by really Monday evening. It's practically how fast it's going to be moving. If we look now really at Monday early afternoon on the GFS. Let's look at Monday early afternoon. This is it right here. It's all across the Great Lakes and portion thereof, including Quebec and Ontario, while the Europeans getting at this point practically off the coast and rapidly making its way towards Nova Scotia and eventually into the Northeast Atlantic or Northwest Atlantic. But overall, the European has it moving super quickly, not having a lot of that moisture advection catch up till later on. And then eventually that moisture advection catches up with that area of low, and as well it kind of matches up along the cold front. So eventually we're going to see a pretty wet, compact snow across New England and coastal New England on Monday evening. So the European does favor a lot more snow for the Northeast, even though it's going to be a lot less significant. And let's now look at the Canadian model. So the Canadian model as well, the latest 12Z model. So here's Saturday morning, very dry weather. However, you're going to start seeing that snow developing all across British Columbia, Alberta, Saskatchewan. Because again, that's where that deep cold air and polar vortex is going to be. I mean, almost all over southern Canada, we're going to be seeing some really cold, really strong polar vortex. It's going to be very zonal, but it's not going to be strong, because if it was a strong polar vortex, it'd be staying in the Arctic Circle. It's not in the Arctic Circle, but it's like really strong in a way that's very zonal. And then eventually, as we go towards the weekend, it will become more weakening. We're going to be seeing eventually a weakening the polar vortex, as well. Going to be seeing more better setup for cooler weather entering the United States. But let's overall look by early Sunday morning, and be starting to see that snow developing across upstate North Dakota, as well as portions of northwestern Minnesota. So as you can tell, the CMC definitely has it really amped up, just like the GFS. Definitely not taking a European approach already by Sunday morning, late morning, getting close to noon. This snow is going to be really, really widespread, but it's going to be very dry and compact. We're not going to be seeing too much moisture convection with this, because this low pressure is going to be moving so fast that eventually this main moisture convection is just really not going to catch up. I mean, at that point, this main air low pressure is going to kind of be really all that other moisture is going to be at this point behind the cold air convection eventually. So as we continue to go on, though, by Sunday afternoon, we're seeing some really heavy snow across the upper Great Lakes. Really good snow for Wisconsin, very good snow for Michigan, as well as possible some snow across the lower Lake Michigan, as well even lower Lake Erie. So could get some snow possibly for Chicago, could get some snow there for Detroit, probably as well Gary, Indiana, and eventually towards Cleveland. And then as we go towards Sunday night, this moisture convection will finally catch up. So we're going to be seeing a lot more rain going on across the areas to the south of that low pressure, where we're still seeing that very weak ridging. So although it's going to be a mass, we're going to be seeing some really frequent cold air all across this area, with obviously some very intense troughs, as well overall kind of clipper patterns. We're still going to be seeing ridging basically just off the coast, and it's going to still bring in some really warm weather across the southeast. So that's where we're going to be seeing still some really intense rainfall. And as we go towards December 6th, which will be Monday early morning, going to start seeing some snow already for the Northeast. Going to be seeing some really heavy snow across portions of the upper Northeast, including upstate New York, portions of north central Pennsylvania. Still seeing some lake effect snow across the Great Lakes, because of how that deep cold air is going to be there across that cold conveyor belt. And then as we go towards now December 6th, obviously the CMC is taking a pretty big approach like this across the Northeast, because the low pressure is going to be really far off the coast, acting like a nor'easter, while the GFS has it acting like a clipper and kind of going like this. So the GFS kind of has a clipper, while the CMC kind of has it doing a very similar approach, but actually acting eventually like a nor'easter at the very end. So this is the big difference. So the GFS has all the snow up here, while the CMC has it all the way down here because of the difference in track. But like I said, either way, no matter how far south this goes, eventually we're still going to be seeing snow across the Great Lakes, and that proves. But of course, by really early afternoon on Monday, we'll be seeing some really nasty weather. Very heavy snow across upper Northeast and as well portions of New England, while we're going to be seeing still some really heavy snow as well, potential flooding across coastal Northeast and as well the Mid-Atlantic. The CMC still does not have really too much going on for the coastal Northeast, including really, I'd say, Boston, Providence, New York City, Atlantic City, and Dover. Not really having too much going on there, because we're still going to be seeing some very intense ridging. So an intense high pressure off the coast at this point, so we're still going to be seeing the resemblance of that warmer weather, and it really won't get super cold until the day or two after the main storm. It's going to be a very similar case all across this, like I said. As you look at the 500 millibar, the main event is going to really obviously be really Sunday. It's going to be Sunday afternoon. Sunday afternoon is going to be all across the Great Lakes, and we're still going to be seeing, like I said, very weak ridging. And where that deepest cold air really is going to be, like I said, west of that main low pressure. So and there is going to be some really deep cold air. However, the system's moving so quickly, like a clipper, that this cold air is going to have a tough time catch up. And if we look now early Monday, we're still going to be seeing some really intense ridging across the Northeast. And eventually by Monday, really afternoon, this cold air will eventually catch up to the Great Lakes, eastern Great Lakes, and the Northeast, but it's going to really be mainly only affected for the upper Northeast and portions of the Great Lakes. So that's why there's a really high chance of more confidence towards Quebec, more confidence toward the upper Great Lakes and Northern Plains, because although they most likely will just miss out on the coldest air, their average is obviously a lot colder. So if they're and they're also not going to be really experiencing much ridging going on. Even the day before, that main ridging is going to be towards really the south central, while the main ridging is going to be basically right off the Northeast. So it's going to be a completely different pattern. If we look now, by basically even Monday evening, we will probably maybe see a chance for some light snow showers eventually overnight. But this coldest air, like I said, does not really arrive practically much later, but still gonna be seeing some really intense ridging right along the East Coast. So that's gonna definitely be a really big killer. As even though we're gonna be seeing some really intense, very intense, obviously, uh, Arctic blasts and obviously weakening of this polar vortex and extreme wobbling of this polar vortex, we're not going to be seeing the ridging. We're not going to be seeing the really NAO we want. It's going to be more towards a neutral NAO. So if this were towards to be a negative NAO, we'd be seeing a lot better pattern for the Northeast and coastal Northeast specifically. But this ridging's just not. It's just this ridging off the coast is going to be so stubborn. But overall, here's a look at the GFS total. So obviously, we're gonna be seeing some snow prior to this. So this is gonna be the areas to watch out for prior to the snowstorm. So consider that the totals we're looking at for this storm itself isn't gonna be completely just one storm. So here are the overall totals by the end by Tuesday morning. Or sorry, Tuesday afternoon. Eventually, once it's done in the Northeast. So there's gonna be the main area to watch out for. Regardless if it snows before, these totals are still gonna be pretty high. I mean, if we look basically before the event, we're only going to be seeing basically nothing across northeastern South Dakota, practically nothing across central and southeast North Dakota, practically nothing for southern Wisconsin, southern Minnesota, and even lacking across across upper Michigan. But if we look at the end of the storm, a lot more snow to be seeing, practically an additional over half or additional foot for portions of southeastern North Dakota, northeastern South Dakota, really as well a pretty big snowmaker all across the upper Great Lakes and as well the northern plains. This is going to be a main area to watch out for. This is where we're going to be seeing our highest confidence from the Dakotas towards the upper Great Lakes, towards really at this point the boundary is going to be really, I say, on Quebec, where you or Ontario, where you draw the line towards Ontario. At that point, there's going to be a lot less confidence because obviously the GF is taking a pretty strong clipper approach, and that's why we're going to be seeing so much snow, very, very high dense snow across Ontario, or Quebec, and be seeing over nearly 3.5 feet, while there's going to be practically nothing across the Northeast. So definitely the GFS is going to be favoring more towards Wisconsin, Minnesota, Dakotas, and Michigan, getting over in some areas over a foot, and as well getting some good snow. A pretty strong uptrend in my opinion in the GFS for this Midwest storm, because I remember the 18Z was definitely a pretty scary downtrend. But now they have even a pretty uptrend for Chicago, getting around 4 inches, getting some really good snow as well for even upper Indiana. So definitely some increasing confidence for the Midwest and decreasing confidence for the Northeast. But the European is helping out the Northeast in a way. Of course, still seeing that heavy snow across the upper Great Lakes, but they obviously are having it as this low pressure is still going to be further southeastward. We're missing a chance for that cold air to eventually catch up, since obviously, like I said, this low pressure kind of goes like this. It's going to be like that. Low pressure, or the colder front, it's going to be like that. But if it's down here, for example, it's off the coast, this cold front is going to be like that. So colder air and more cold air advection. But still getting some really heavy snow, possibly. The Europeans definitely taking a far northern approach. This is kind of what the GFS 18Z was showing yesterday, and this is what the European is showing, getting over basically anywhere from half a foot to over 1.5 feet across the upper Great Lakes, including Lake Superior, Lake Michigan, etc. So definitely still favoring the Midwest, but a little bit less and a little bit further north. And then eventually, since it does dip so far south, it is going to bring a chance for some snow across the Northeast, and as well getting extreme totals. Like I said, eventually, since we're going to be seeing so much moisture advection, like a nor'easter, we're going to be seeing some really wet, compact snow for New England, so we could very well get over. If this verifies, obviously, the European were to verify, we'd be seeing a pretty strong coastal New England storm, not really favoring the mid-Atlantic and coastal Northeast, but definitely favoring the coastal New England area. And then last but not least, the CMC is kind of favoring both areas, favoring both the Midwest and the Northeast, but favoring more the upper Northeast, but not really favoring the coastal New England area. So kind of in general, if we look at this coastal area, the only model that shows anything interesting in some part of the circle is going to be the European, while the GFS and of course the CMC are kind of pretty dead on agreeing. And if we kind of compare the CMC with the GFS, they're kind of pretty similar in a way, pretty darn similar. So I'm gonna have to kind of agree with the CMC and GFS in a way. I think we will get some snow across these areas, because again, the GFS still has some snow, but in the highest elevations. But definitely looking at some pretty high confidence across the upper Great Lakes and portions there of northern Wisconsin, Michigan. Definitely looking at a pretty big snowmaker, at least for those areas, and then still watching out for the coastal and as well upper Northeast.